Hi everybody, welcome to NFL Week 6 review of the Big Fish Football Show. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Daryl Fisher. Before we start with the review of the games, let's take a minute to talk about Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who had a hot mic moment, which a lot of people in their industry and politicians do, about saying wasting taxpayer dollars for a flyover. Well, Troy Aikman's trying to walk it back and everything like that, but my opinion on the flyovers is this. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of people in the stadium, sure. But think of it like this. With all this COVID mess around the country, don't you want a little bit of normalcy? Just a little? I hope they didn't ruin their careers, but I think they did some damage. Especially Troy Aikman, living in the Texas area and being a former Dallas Cowboy. So, hopefully they apologize and Fox Sports apologizes, and we just go on with the rest of the season. But let's get into Week 6. First game up, the Pittsburgh Steelers totally smash and destroy the Cleveland Browns, 38-7. It was domination from the get-go. When Minka Fitzpatrick took a horribly thrown pass by the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, Baker Mayfield, to the house for 6 points. And then the Steeler defense went on to slowly beat the hell out of Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield is under a lot of pressure this year with the fifth-year option coming up for him. So it's not looking good for him. Yeah. He'll come out next week, they'll beat the hell out of the Bengals, and then he'll have the chip on his shoulder again. But, the thing with the Cleveland Browns is they can't beat any good teams. And if you listen to them talk sometimes, they're the best team ever assembled. But 38-7, Steelers did what they have to do and absolutely beat down and destroyed Baker Mayfield and the hapless Cleveland Browns. Speaking of hapless, we go to the Dolphins-Jets. Dolphins 24, the 0-6 Jets 0. It's fire sale time for the New York Jets as they have 28 players with one-year contracts. That's half the roster. So that just tells you they're in a total rebuild. And Joe Douglas, the GM, and Chris Johnson, the acting owner, while his brother Woody is the ambassador to England, they've gone into hiding. So what Adam Gase knows that he's not going to be there next year. So I think they're going to have him coach out the string, and he's going to take the brunt of it while the gutless Douglas and Johnson stay in hiding. It's ridiculous. And Jet fans, you deserve better. Keep the pressure on. I'm a Jet fan because we don't live far here in Latrobe from where Joe Namath was from. And yeah, Jets are my second favorite team, Raiders being the third. But yeah, come on. This is, are you always going to be the New York Giants' little brother? Come on, get it together. Dolphins 24, Jets 0. Hey, the Dolphins get better every single week. Brian Flores is a tremendous coach. And everybody, it's Tua time. Tua Tagovailoa will start next week. I think it's the right thing, especially how well Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow have played. I think that he's the future. You don't plan on making the playoffs this year, even though it would be a surprise. I don't think they're going to. I don't care how good they get, but they're contenders for the division. But good for Tua. I hope he does well. He seems like he's going to be an exciting player. Next game. Best game of the week. Tennessee Titans 42, Texans 36. Tennessee got ahead. The Texans battled back. They had gone ahead with less than a minute left. Ryan Tannehill went down the field and scored threw the touchdown to Brown, tying the game up. And Derrick Henry and his offensive line pretty much won it by themselves. But he's a great player, and it's going to be tough for the Steelers to stop him next week, but I think that they'll be the best team to stop it. Once again, Titans 42, Texans 36. Great game, though. And hats off to Romeo Crennel. The Texans are getting it together. They just got to play some better defense. Colts-Bengals. Colts 31, Bengals 27. Bengals had this game and lost it in the end. The Bengals just come up a little bit short. They're a fun team to watch. They're Joe Burrow getting a little more maturity, a little more playing time, and some defensive players. They need some defensive players, but they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in years to come. The Colts, I'm telling you now, folks, the Colts are the most overrated team in the NFL. All I heard from the national talking heads was last 2 weeks how good this defense is, how good this defense is. Maybe statistically, but otherwise, they're very overrated. Give me the Steelers defense, give me the Seattle defense, give me the Raven defense before I would even consider the Colts defense. But great game, Colts 31, Bengals 27. It's a shame Phillip Rivers is going to be his last year more than likely, and he's just going to go out like that. Next game, Falcons-Vikings. Raheem Morris gets his first win as the interim coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and great for him. He's a good guy, and he's a good coach. He's not going, I don't care what they finish, they would have to win out and get to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, I think, for him to be named the full-time head coach. But maybe he gets another shot down the road. But the Falcons, it just goes to show you, Dan Quinn's message went stale, and it happens every once in a while. There's very few coaches, Belichick, Tomlin, Andy Reid. Their message doesn't go stale because they have the coaching skills to back it up. I think Dan Quinn just ran out of talent, unfortunately. I think he's a good defensive coordinator, just not a good head coach. He'll land on his feet. The Vikings, it's Kirk Cousins. They're just not driving the ball down the field. They really miss Stephon Diggs. And, I think this is, like I said, Mike Zimmer signed an extension. He's not going anywhere. But I think this is the end in Minnesota for Kirk Cousins. Falcons 40, Vikings 23. Broncos-Patriots, shocker of the week. I thought Cam Newton would come in from his COVID experience and have something to prove. No, the Denver defense had something to prove. And Broncos beat the Patriots 18-12 in New England. And I know it's not the same in New England because the COVID has them locked down with no fans. But still, it just seems like the Broncos, no matter what, have the Patriots number, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the coach is. Whether it's John Fox, it doesn't matter. Vic Fangio did a good job. They're now 2-3. Hopefully the Broncos can turn around. Patriots, I think they'll bounce back because of the Patriots. I think Bill Belichick will go back to the drawing board. But let's face it, I don't know. I only know one Patriot fan, and I really think that, they think that the team is they'll still get to the Super Bowl. They'll still get deep in the playoffs. Wouldn't it be great to see them not finish 500 this year? And I think that maybe if they didn't finish 500, there might be some talk about Belichick maybe retiring. I could see it happening. He would be paid top dollar on the TV networks. But Broncos 18, Patriots 12. Shocker of the week. Washington football team versus the New York football Giants. This is the game that I said last week in the preview that nobody probably cared about. But it turned out to be a good game. The Giants get their first win, 20-19. Joe Judge, first win, and now that they're 1-5, they're now playoff contenders in the NFC East. So, the NFC East is anybody's division. They could win, I think 6-10 might win this division, and unfortunately that team will get a playoff game. But congratulations to Joe Judge. He seems like a hard worker. And for the Washington football team, time to put Dwayne Haskins back in. If you can give me a like and subscribe and maybe a comment, we can talk about it. I'd like to see them throw Dwayne Haskins in. They're 1-5, unless you're tanking one of these teams, tanking for Trevor. Throw him back in there. At this point, it's not hurting anything. And the game you did win, he played well and you won it with him in there. Giants 20, Washington 19. Ravens Eagles. Ravens got off to a pretty good lead, and the Eagles battled back. The Eagles there's something just off with the Eagles. I think when it's all said and done, they'll win the NFC East, but they almost beat the Ravens in Baltimore. I understand Baltimore really doesn't have any fans, but Baltimore seems to be a juggernaut. So, I was shocked by the score, shocked by the ending. I thought the Eagles were going to pull it out. But maybe it could be the Eagles are better than everybody thought, or the Ravens aren't as good as everybody thought. Because the Steelers beat the Eagles by 9, and they only beat the Eagles by 2. But it wasn't Philadelphia, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Steelers-Ravens coming up in 2 weeks. That's going to be, like it always is, an absolute slugfest war. But Ravens 30, Eagles 28. Eagles almost pulled it out. And this talk of Doug Peterson being fired, that's ridiculous. He's won the Eagles' one and only Super Bowl. He can write his own ticket. Next game, Bears-Panthers. Bears pulled this out 23-16. Carolina Panthers were game. The Bears are the worst 5-1 team in the NFL. It's one of those deals just like Philly when Nick Foles was the quarterback. They just find a way to win. And when in the NFL, 5-1 is 5-1. And like Nick Foles said, they'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. And I absolutely agree with that. I've heard Mike Tomlin press conference many a time where he said, I don't care what it looks like as long as we come out of it with a W. So kudos to them. They keep winning. They have a great defense, and that's really, as long as that defense plays great, they're going to be fantastic. So, Bears 23, Panthers 16. Lions-Jaguars, another nobody cares game. A lot of people said that Matt Patricia could be fired if they lost this game. Well, I didn't think the players would, but the players really stepped up for him. Final score of that game, Lions 34, Jaguars 16. And I think they saved Matt Patricia's job, and hopefully the Lions can get on a little run. Everybody likes to see the Lions win. They're like the lovable loser. They're like the Saints of old and the Steelers before Chuck Noll got there. They're the lovable losers, and you love to see them win. But hopefully Matt Patricia can put one foot in front of the other and start a little streak, or be competitive at least. Lions 34, Jaguars 16. So let's face it, Doug Marrone's not going to be there next year. They're going to do a complete overhaul, I think. And they could be tanking for Trevor too. And if you're Trevor Lawrence, these teams, the Jets, the Jaguars, the Washington football team, do you want to play on any of these teams? I think that we're going to see a new thing of a lot of players pulling an Eli, especially when they have a generational type talent that Trevor Lawrence does. But we'll have to see come April. Packers-Buccaneers. This game shocked me a little bit. I think I said in the preview I expected the Packers to win and win big. Their defense played great. A pick six. I don't think I've ever seen Aaron Rodgers throw a pick six. And someone told me it might have been the only second one of his career. And then he threw another interception. They were up 10-0, and all of a sudden they bang after 2 turnovers. They were down 14-10. So, Tom Brady played well. Gronkowski finally started. I think finally he's getting his football legs to him. So, I think the Buccaneers can start rolling now. They're 4-2. Let's just see if they can beat the Saints. So, but the Buccaneers defense did give a blueprint to the rest of the NFL how to beat Aaron Rodgers. Let's see if other teams can duplicate it, because he seems tough to beat to me, even at 36 years old. I still think he has a lot left in the tank, and I think the Packers aren't in any kind of trouble. Even though they lost big, sometimes you lose games like that, and you just move on to the next one. Like Belichick said one time, we're on to Cincinnati. Rams, 49ers. This was actually a good game. I expected the Rams to go in there and win big, but I think the defensive players that had to replace the starters, they're finally starting to gel. They got a couple of turnovers. They played good. Defensive backfield, Jason Verrett played really well. I mean, he pretty much single-handedly kept the Rams out of the game. Final score of that game, 24-16. And I would say it's Seattle's division. I don't see anybody beating Seattle in that division, even though I think the Rams will make the playoffs this year. And I just comment about the Rams. I used to think the Rams' home uniforms were the best uniforms in football. And they proceeded to ruin them. But if you give me a like and subscribe and a comment, tell me what you think. I'd love to hear it. Love to have the feedback, and I'll give you feedback. Chiefs-Bills. Rainy game. Pretty much what I expected. Maybe a little lower scoring than I thought. The final score of that game was 26-17 Chiefs. A couple of turnovers by the Bills. You know, they played hard, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and it just wasn't enough in the end. It was who could play in the elements better, and both teams have those kind of elements. And when in the end it was the Chiefs. They did enough to win, and in the NFL, the only thing that matters is winning. Final score of that game, Chiefs 26, Bills 17. Our last game of the week is Cardinals and Cowboys. This was an absolute destruction, 38-10. We've had some blowouts this week, but this was, I don't know what's wrong with Dallas. I thought they were a better, more competitive team with Jason Garrett. I don't know what to make of all that, but the Cardinals are rolling. I mean, Cardinals are 4-2. I thought Cliff Kingsbury was a douchebag, but he's really shown me something. But it helps to have Vance Joseph as defensive coordinator, and the defense is playing great. The Cowboys, they need defense. The defensive backfield, the linebackers, they got to get healthy. They got to play well. So before we close, give you the Giants-Eagles preview. I think the Eagles will win this game. I think this is going to be a good game, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. But I'm going to take the Eagles here, but the Giants could win it. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd say the score of that game is going to be 17-10 Eagles. Next topic. Jets go on with Adam Gase. And I listened to Boomer Esiason and Greg Giannotti's morning show, and you can tell, you can hear the frustration because they're Jets fans. The frustration in their voices that Adam Gase is still there. But here's the thing. If you're tanking for Trevor, what does it matter? And if you are tanking for Trevor, what does that mean for Sam Darnold's future? I would love, with a 38-year-old almost nearly getting close to 40 Ben Roethlisberger, I'd love to see a third or fourth round pick given to the Jets for Sam Darnold and have him sit a year or two and learn from Ben Roethlisberger. And then when Ben finally does decide to retire as the greatest Steeler quarterback ever, and Sam Darnold could step right in there. So tell me what you think. And on the Steelers, unfortunate note, Devin Bush, major injury, torn ACL. He's having surgery today. Let's say a little prayer for him, wish him some luck, whatever you're into. But hopefully he'll be back next year better than ever. So if you give me a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And that's Big Fish Football's Week 6 Week in Review. So we'll see you Saturday for the preview show. Thanks.